Welcome to Chemistry with Dr. Z. In this video, I'm going to talk about alkanes, structure, and naming, how to name the different alkanes. So, alkanes are saturated hydrocarbons. They are called saturated hydrocarbons because they only contain single bonds between all the atoms. There is no double bond between the carbon atoms for this series of compounds. So each carbon is bonded to four other atoms. We know that each carbon atom has to have four bonds, and these bonds could be with carbon or with hydrogen. Some examples of alkanes, as we can see, all of them have only single bonds. There is no double bonds at all, and all the bonds are either between carbon and carbon or between carbon and hydrogen. The general formula of alkanes is CnH2n plus 2. So CnH2n plus 2. So for any number of carbon atom, you need to have double this number plus 2 to find the number of hydrogen atoms. How can we name the alkane? So the general rule of naming alkane is as follows. So first of all, we need to use a suffix and a prefix. So let's start with the prefix. The prefix refers to the number of carbon atoms in the structure. So you're going to add a certain prefix that refers to the number of carbon atom. And you need to memorize the prefix of the first member of the class, meaning when you have 1, 2, 3, or 4 carbon atoms, then what would be the prefix? And then you add at the end the suffix "ane", so you're going to end with the suffix "ane", which refers to alkane. So you use the prefix and then you add "ane" at the end. So let's have a look at the different prefixes and how we're going to name the different alkanes. So if you have only one carbon atom, the prefix would be meth. And then when you add the suffix, it's going to be methane. And then if you have two carbon atom, it's called eth. And then again, add the suffix, so it's ethane. If you have three, then it's called prop. And then you add ane at the end, so propane. And if you have four carbon atom, it's called bute. And then you have to add ane at the end, so it's called butane. You have to memorize the prefix of the first four members of alkanes. Now let's see how can we draw the different alkanes. So if we have one carbon atom, the name, as we said, is going to be methane. Molecular formula is CH4 because the general formula is CnH2n plus 2. And then displayed formula, we need to draw the carbon atom with the four bonds. All of them are hydrogen because there is no other carbon. It's only one carbon atom. So the structure formula is also CH4. If you have two carbon atoms, then the name is ethane, the prefix eth, and the suffix ane. Molecular formula C2H6 because CnH2n plus 2. And then the displayed formula, you need to draw the two carbon atoms attached to each other and then carry on drawing all the hydrogens. So each carbon atom has to have a maximum of 6 atoms. So the structure formula is CH3, CH3. And then if you have three carbon atom, it's propane, prop and ane, and molecular formula C3H8, and structure formula is CH3CH2CH3. How can we find that this is the structure formula? Because the displayed formula, we're going to draw all the three carbon atoms, and then we're going to complete the four bonds for each atom with hydrogen. So as we can see here, for the first carbon atom, it's CH3, and then the second one is CH2, and then it's CH3. This is why this is the structure formula. If we have four carbon atoms, the name is butane, molecular formula C4H10, and then when we draw the displayed formula, we need to draw all the carbon atoms in one chain attached to each other, and then complete the number of hydrogen atoms for each carbon atom. So it has a maximum of four bonds. So as you can see here, so the structure formula is CH3 and then CH2, CH2, and CH3. So alkane are form what is called a homologous series. So what is a homologous series? A homologous series is a series of compounds that they all have the general formula, and we know the general that alkanes have the same general formula, which is CnH2n plus 2. They also differ from each other by CH2 in their molecular formula. So we know that the difference between methane, the first member CH4, and then the second member, which is ethane, C2H6. The difference between these two is CH2. And then the third member, which is CH3H8. The difference between these two is CH2, and so on. So the difference in molecular formula from neighboring compound is CH2. They show gradual variation in physical properties such as the boiling and melting points. And when we discuss the physical properties of alkane, we're going to see that how they differ in they have gradual variation in their physical properties. They also all have similar chemical properties, and the main reason for that is because they have the same functional group, so they react similarly to each other. So they have similar chemical properties.